Today's very important questions. How can you take your picking speed to the next level while also improving the synchronization between both your hands? How do you play faster without increasing the size of your motion, generating a lot of unwanted noise when you're playing? And what are the best exercises to work on this topic consistently every single day? If you're interested in just one of these topics, you came to the right place today. I'd like to show you a super powerful technique exercise today that actually has multiple benefits when it comes to your technique and your guitar playing in general. This one will be quite challenging for both hands, but it's actually a lot of fun to work on this. So let's roll the intro right away and start working on those shred gains. Before we start practicing today, I'd like to take a super quick moment to thank all of you guys and girls that are subscribed to this channel. I recently got something in the mail that I didn't actually show you yet. I don't really want to make a video that nobody cares about this, but I still feel like it's more than necessary to say thank you for the amazing support so far. If you're not subscribed to the channel yet, make sure to join us today. On this channel, we're on a quest to become a better and better guitar player every single week, and I'm sharing the exact exercises and theory concepts that help me out the most on this journey. So thanks again for your support. It really and honestly means the world to me, but let's get to the shredding right now. So for today's exercise, we're focusing on the concept of working with short bursts once again. So this is not about picking endurance, it's about pushing your picking speed to the next level and further developing your technique. And the main thing we want to take advantage of right here is that we always have a short period of rest between each speed burst. And what we don't want with this exercise is being super tense, relaxed, extremely tense and relaxed and so on. And of course we also don't want to tense up for the entire exercise like that, even in the resting periods. The main secret right here, if you will, is that we're getting a feeling for how little picking attack we can actually use to play fast by comparing those speed bursts to the relaxation phases. So the tension and relaxation graph shouldn't look like that. The curve should be relatively flat, and it's great that you get this comparison between fast picking and resting. But enough talk, let's check out today's exercise performed really slow to get started. So we're essentially just using the chromatic scale or semi-chromatic scale as the framework for this exercise. But instead of just working on all 6 strings immediately, playing this position up and down, or just working on one string, we're working on 2 strings to practice the transition from one string to the next. And we're playing 4 notes on the first string, that would be the D string in our case, simply starting out on the first fret. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Downstroke, upstroke, downstroke, upstroke, and then a final downstroke on the next string, so on the G string. So what we're training right here is switching from an upstroke on the lower string to a downstroke on the higher string. And this 4-note pattern is something that I'm really not used to that much because I'm used to playing 3-note per string scales. So grouping notes that way comes very natural, but when it comes to 4 picking strokes and then to the next stroke on the next string, that's something I also really want to work more for those fast chromatic style phrases in order to make them come naturally when I'm improvising. And this is pretty much the perfect exercise for that, aside from pushing your picking speed, improving your hand synchronization, and especially training that string switching skill. So let's play this exercise a bit faster right now and see what happens. So as you could see, the size of my picking motion didn't double with the tempo. I put a big focus on staying relaxed during the entire workout and not going through those periods of tension and release, and so on. And those breaks you're placing in between those short bursts really help you out a lot when it comes to that. Another great benefit of this exercise is that you can easily control yourself to see if you're doing this exercise correctly. Because when you play a downstroke, upstroke, downstroke and upstroke, so 4 strokes on the D string, you have to end up with a downstroke on the G string. So if you end up with an upstroke or anything in between on the G string, you probably missed a note and the picking stroke as you try to speed up this exercise. So that is a great tool to always check if your hands are actually synchronized when you're performing this exercise. And the final twist you can add to this exercise is getting rid of those longer breaks and turning it into a pure speed exercise, just playing those fast bursts over and over again in both directions. So when you stack those fast bursts together with those very short breaks in between them, it won't be possible to be fully tense and then fully relaxed, fully tense again and fully relaxed. So when you're working on this exercise at this last and very fast level, you're really making sure to develop an efficient technique right here, because as soon as the motion gets too big, you will end up with a lot of unwanted noise. And of course, it will also cost you a lot of energy to perform all of those fast bursts. So the number one thing I want to avoid with this exercise is tensing up with my right hand or even using my entire arm to pick. And another very important thing you need to watch out for is what your left hand is doing, especially when it gets faster. Because as we often discussed on this channel already, it gets much harder to speed up your licks when your pinky finger is always flying away like that, or your fingers are bending away from the fretboard as soon as they are not needed anymore. So with this exercise, we also really want to make sure to stick as close to the fretboard as possible. And that's especially challenging when you're turning the exercise around and when you're starting with your pinky finger going down to your index finger. So it shouldn't look like that. Your fingers are moving further and further away from the fretboard. They should stick to the fretboard like that. And I try to demonstrate that with the practical examples and the exercises that are recorded for this week. So quite a couple of things to keep in mind when you're practicing these exercises. So I made sure to record some video play-alongs for your practice routine once again, aside from adding the tabs and guitar profiles on Patreon. By downloading these video play-alongs right now, you can work on this together with me in your practice routine. And of course, you also have that helpful and really cool visual reference when you're practicing with me. Aside from watching my technique and seeing what I'm paying attention to with this exercise, I also added some scrolling tablet once again, so you can read out the exercise when you're practicing. In case you don't know it by now, I'm adding these super helpful files for every single YouTube lesson over on patreon.com/Bernd. My patrons also get to vote for the lesson topics that I'm covering on this channel every single month. This was the top voted technique topic for this month. We talked a lot about theory in August. And I also recently added the option to join my VIP club. That's just a secret Facebook group where I can interact with all students. And this is a really great environment for interaction and guitar progress and growth. So make sure to check that out if that's interesting for you and if you would like to interact a bit more with me. In the end, thanks a lot for tuning in for today's video. I really hope that you will work with this exercise in your practice routine from now on. Make sure to leave a like in case you learned something new, or if you just enjoyed watching, and a comment in case you have any further questions concerning this exercise. I really hope that I will see you again in the next video on here. All the best and have a lot of fun practicing until then.